So task 2 tells us that a company makes cereal boxes that have a volume of 432 and a fourth cubic inches. So we know the volume of this whole box. So you could fit 432 cubes that are an inch in dimension inside that box. The dimensions of the cereal box are shown. What is the width of the box? So first, let's write down what we know for the formula. So we know volume is length times width times height. Now let's plug in and substitute the values that we do know. So our volume we know is 432 and a fourth. So our length here is 9.5. 9.5. I'm having a hard time with that too. And our width is W. We don't know our width. And our height from top to bottom is 14. So how can we find the width here? We need to get W all by itself. So what can we do to get W by itself? Well, we need to get 14 and 9.5 to the other side. So we're going to do the opposite. So I see some fractions here, and I know when I'm multiplying and dividing, we need to have improper fractions. So let's go ahead and do that now. So start with this one since it's a little easier. Let's get it. So 9 times 2 is 18 plus 1 is 19. So this is 19 halves. This is 14 over 1. We still just have W. We don't know. So let's do this one, 432 times 4. So go ahead and try that one. So here's 8 and 12. 16 plus 1 is 17. So 1728 and one more is 1729 over 4. Okay, so let's start actually and put these together. So then we only have to move one thing over. So since we can multiply 19 halves and 14 over 1, let's start with that. And then we can just move that over to the other side here. So we have 19 halves times 14 over 1. So let's go ahead and do 19 times 14. So go ahead and do that and come back when you know that answer. So here's 36, 4, 5, 6, 7, placeholder 9, 1. So here's 6, 16, and 2. So we've got 266 over 2. So our problem now looks like 1,729 over 4 equals W times 266 over 2. So we need to get this to the other side here. So the opposite of times is to divide. So we're going to divide by 266 over 2, which cancels this out to a 1. And now we have to do this to the other side. We've got to put it back behind. This is what we have. This is what we're dividing by. So 1729 over 4 divided by 266 over 2. Now remember, when we are dividing, I don't know if 266 can go evenly into 1729. So what I can do though is make it a multiplication problem, since division and multiplication are just opposites of each other. So I can copy this first one, 1729 divided by 4, keep the first one the same, dot, and flop here. So I can see a little bit of this. I know easily cancels out. This becomes 1, this becomes 2. So I know 2 can't go into this one. So I'm just going to leave these and we'll figure that part out. So 1729 times 1 is pretty easy. And now we have 2 times 266. So go ahead and do that. So there's 12, 12, 13, and 4, 5. So we've got 1729 over 532. So we need to do 1729, and we're going to divide by 532. So I don't know about you, but I do not know my 532 multiplication facts. So what I am going to do is I'm going to make myself a list over here. So I know if I times it by 1, it's 532. So 532 and another group makes it 4 and 6 and 10. So 1064 would be if I times it by 2. So let's go ahead and add on another group of 532. Makes that 6, 9, 5, so 15. 97 is if I do 3 groups, or 96, 15, 96. And I know I can't get another group in there because 15 plus another 500 is going to be about 2,000, and that's too small. So I think this will get us started here. So it takes a little work up front, but then the rest of it should be pretty simple. So 532 can't go into 1, can't go into 17, can't go into 172, but it can go into 1729, 1, 2, 3 times. 3 times 532 is 1596. So let's subtract here. 9 minus 6 is 3. We need to borrow. 12 minus 9 is 3. 6 minus 5 is 1. So we are left with 133. And so let's see what happens if we add on a decimal, if we can get it to a nice even number. If it doesn't, then we can just go ahead and put it back as a fraction. But I think we'll have to do some simplifying here. So I'm going to drop this down so I can see that's too big. So it goes in there 2 times, which is 1064. And so we're going to borrow here is 6. To borrow again, 12 minus 6 is 6. And 2. So now we're at 266. So I'm thinking, oh, and then we're going to bring down another 0. So I know, right, if I do it 1, 2, 3, 4 times 5 is about 20 something. And that's, I think, a little bit too small. So let's try 5. Whoops, I don't know what I'm writing there. 532 and see if it goes in there. Let's try 5. So 5 times 2 is 10. 15, 16. Ooh, looking good so far. 25, 26. Oh, perfect. It goes in there exactly 5 times. 266, 0, 0 left over. So, that was a lot of work to find that missing piece, but we can do hard things. So it is 3. And since it gave these other ones in fractions, I think we should give this as a fraction. So we could have simplified 133 and 5/32. I just didn't know a number that went into both of them off the top of my head. So for me, it was easier to do a decimal. I know when I have a quarter, that's 1 out of 4. So the width here is 3 1/4. So since it gave it in fractions, we want to give it back in fractions. We can use that decimal though, right? 25 out of 100, because this is in the hundredths place, equals 1/4. 1/4 is 1/4. So let's just recap that problem there. That was a lot of work. So we started with our formula. We wrote out what we know. We made things improper since we're working with fractions and multiplying and dividing. So we combined the problems that we do know, because we do know the length and the height, then we can use that commutative property of multiplication to multiply different parts first. So we found that here, and then we had to get that to the other side. So we divided on both sides. And remember, it has to go behind the part you already have, not in front. This is not 266 over 2 divided by this. You've got to start with what you have, the total, divided by the piece. So we copy, dot, flopped, multiplied, and then we just had to simplify, which came out to 3 1/4. So go ahead and complete test 2.